In today's session, we are going to continue with the general features of an area, as well as we will try to understand the classification with examples. The learning objectives of this class is to study the features of an area and to study the classification of an area. The session outcomes are understanding the main features of an area and understanding the classification of area. By the end of the class, you will be familiarized with the features as well as its classification with examples. Now, let us continue with our discussion on features of area or coelenterata. In the previous class, we have discussed about the body plan, their organization, then the body wall, different types of cells that are present in both epidermis and the gastrodermis and their functions. Today we are going to continue with the physiological aspect of phylum Nigeria. Let's say the digestion. So here digestion is both extracellular and by intracellular methods. Extracellular means a digestion which takes place outside the cells, equivalent to the digestion that is taking place in the alimentary canal of higher animals like us. So here the digestion takes place by the enzymatic activity, okay, and these enzymes are secreted by the gland cells that are present in the gastrodermis. Just recall what we have discussed in our previous session. And the intracellular digestion, it occurs by the activity of the nutritive muscle cells. There are muscle cells in the gastrodermis and these are nutritive muscle cells because they have double property. One is that they help in digestion as well as they help in contractions. Okay, so that's why they are called as nutritive muscle cells. So intracellular digestion, the final chemical digestion and its assimilation takes place inside the cell. Now, how does actually the food is taken? You take the example of Hydra. Hydra is provided with the tentacles, elongated finger-like structures, okay, which are supplied with a large number of cnidoblast or batteries of cnidoblast. Now, by the help of its tentacle, a hydra can hold its prey, okay, coils around it, and then it puts it in the mouth, swallows it, just like we put food in the mouth. This hydra can hold the prey in its tentacle and then puts it in the mouth. And just before that, because the tentacles are provided with a cnidoblast, the two types of grips are used here. One is the tentacle itself, the other one is the cnidoblast. So, cnidoblast that contains the hypnotoxin will paralyze the prey, and by the help of tentacle the food is held tightly and then it is put in the mouth. And then next what happens, once the food is swallowed, then those muscle cells that are present in the wall of the body, they contract and relax, creating a churning movement of the whole body. So, because of that, some kind of mechanical digestion, at the same time simultaneously the enzymes are released. So, chemical digestion also takes place in the gastrovascular cavity or in the coelentron. That is why the name coelentron, So, digestion takes place and then absorbed, then the intracellular digestion occurs in the nutritive muscle cells that are present in the gastrodermis. Okay. So, that is how the digestion takes place in coelenterata. In these members, respiratory structures and excretory structures are absent. So, you do not find any special respiratory or excretory structure. So, it occurs by simple diffusion. As we all know that since there are only two layers of cells and almost each and every cell is in direct contact with either external fluid, that is water, or internal the fluid that is present in the gastrovascular cavity. So, direct diffusion of gases takes place. So, there are no special structures for either respiration or for excretion and even for vasculature for that matter. Okay, and circulatory system is also absent in them. And coelom, true coelom is absent, even though we call that cavity as a coelenteron, but a true coelom is absent in case of a true coelom means a cavity which is lined by epithelial cell is actually absent, which is generally derived from mesoderm, is not found in coelenterata. So, you do not find respiratory structure, no excretory structure, okay. There are no circulatory structures and there is no coelom. So, all these structures are absent. What we find them in are only the digestive structures, okay, very simple digestive structures, and then the nervous structures and musculature. So, these are the some kind of structures that are present in for performing basic physiological activities of the body. And the function of a circulatory system is taken up by the gastrovascular cavity itself. So, it helps in circulating the nutrients between the different cells of gastrodermis. Coming to the nervous system and the sensory system, a very simple nervous system is present, as I said in my previous session. Nervous system is very simple and it appears for the first time in metazoa, and here it is formed of nerve cells forming a network of cells called as nerve net, okay. And there is no central nervous system. You know, in our case we have a brain, we have a spinal cord, and there are nerves, cranial nerves and the spinal nerves. Such complex nervous system is totally absent. What we find in them are the simple cells, okay, simple nerve cells with the two projections, okay, neurites they are called, no specialization as axon or dendrite. So, simple cells which are coordinating with each other and passing the informations, okay, forming a network throughout the body called as nerve net. And coming to the sensory structure, they do not have very well developed sensory structures as such like eyes, ears and all, but there are some simple sensory cells or clusters of cells are present like ocelli or statocyst. Ocelli, if similar to the eye, but they cannot see truly, can only differentiate the slight darkness and the light, okay, and generally found in case of some of the medusoid forms. And then there are also statocysts, again found in medusoid forms. These statocysts help in equilibrium, body balancing, okay, again found in medusoid forms because they are the ones which show the swimming nature. So, they need to maintain their body, and that is why there are statocysts. So, simple kind of sensory cells are present, okay, in case of coelenterata. Moving to the reproduction. So, reproduction is both by asexual and sexual methods. Asexual reproduction takes place by budding, as we have seen in sponges too. Here external buds are common. So, a portion of the body slightly shows bulging, you can see in the picture here. So, different stages of budding. So, small bulge in elevation, then elongates, okay, formation of a small mouth and the tentacles, and total elongation of the bud, then gets separated, detaches from the body and lives as an individual, okay. So, this is how the external budding takes place. This budding is seen in case of hydra as well as in case of medusoid form. So, here too you can see the bud, and in addition to that they also show fission. So, you can see here the longitudinal body is fission, I mean it is dividing into two parts, okay. So, this is going to be one animal, this is going to be another animal. So, there is another type of asexual reproduction called as fission. There is interestingly there is one more type called as fragmentation. So, fragmentation means, you know, break, isn't it. So, this fragmentation is generally we see in case of these algae like plants, okay. Here what happens is that when these metridium kind of individuals, this polypoid forms, they will not show direct locomotion. Instead, they simply slip from one area to another, okay. So, just recall what you used to do in school assemblies, when you are asked to move from one area, I mean one line to another, instead of keeping a step, you used to simply move your without lifting your leg, you used to move, slipping type of movement. So, these animals, they show those kind of slipping type of movement, and when they are moving, they leave a small portion of the cells here like this. So, let me just try to at least draw here. Let us say that here is this particular metridium. So let's say that it is moving. When it is moving from here to here, so from here to here, okay. So what happens here is it will leave a small portion here, small portion of the cells here, rest of and a small portion here and a small portion here, like this. Small portions are left. These small masses of cells will then develop into a whole body. Okay, it will develop into one and this will develop into another, like this. Okay, so that kind of reproduction is called as fragmentation, where during sliding a small portion of the basal part is left. Okay, and that left out part, what is there, okay, in the first position, that will differentiate, okay, and it will become a whole animal. That is a kind of very interesting type of asexual reproduction you can find in case of these coelentrates. Sexual reproduction, here the members can be either monoecious or dioecious. That means either both male and female reproductive organs, gonads, can be found in the same individual, or they might be found in different individuals. Oikos means house, mono means a single. So if there is only one animal with both gonads, it is monoecious. If there are two different animals with different gonads, like male and female gonads are present in different animals, then it is called as dioecious. So here Hydra is actually a monoecious one, and but even though monoecious, cross fertilization is a general rule. If you take example of Aurelia, jellyfishes, they are dioecious. Male gonads are found in one animal, female gonads are found in another animal. Cross fertilization is a general rule in case of monoecious too. And here development is indirect, and it includes a larva, free swimming larva, called as a planula. Okay, parenchyma and amphiblastula were the larva of poriferans, and the planula is a free swimming larva of these cnidarians or coelentrates. There are some interesting features of these coelentrates. One of them is metagenesis. Metagenesis is nothing but alternation of generation, asexual generation and sexual generation. You know, alteration of generation is common in case of plants, if you can recall. It's found in algae, it's found in bryophytes and pteridophytes too. So what happens? One of the generation is sporophytic generation, the other one is gametophytic generation. In the sporophytic generation, asexual reproduction; in the gametophytic generation, sexual reproduction takes place. Similarly, here very interestingly, in coelentrata too, you find these kind of alternation of generation. That means you will find two body forms. One is called polyp, the other one is called as medusa. So a polyp stage is generally, see, this is not 100% true for all, because in some cases a polyp itself might be showing both the type of reproduction, like in case of Hydra. Okay, but in most of the coelentrates you find this condition where polyp is generally a asexual body. It is cylindrical and it is attached. Okay, so it produces by buds, or it might also give rise to medusa. On the other hand, medusoid forms are umbrella-like. Okay, so these are free swimming forms. These medusoid forms have produce gonads containing gametes, and reproduction in them is sexual type. So in one generation it is asexual, in another generation it is a sexual type of reproduction. We have a good example of this here. So you see, it is a polyp. So this is a Obelia colony anyway. So here what happens, in this stage it is going to produce by asexual method. Okay, and here it produces these medusae. Okay, so these medusae, they are going to develop into individuals, different individuals, a male medusae and a female medusae. They produce male and female gametes. Okay, and those male and female gametes fuse, and it produces free swimming larva, planular larva. This will attach to a substratum after swimming for some time. This will develop into a plant-like body, plant-like body, attached body. This is going to reproduce by asexual method. Okay, asexual method, whereas this is going to reproduce by sexual method. So once as a polyp, next time as a medusa, two alternative forms, and this is called as metagenesis. So, metagenesis is alteration of a generation. In one generation, it act as a reproduces by asexual method, polyp stage, and in another generation, the next generation, it reproduces by sexual method and medusoid form, free swimming forms. Okay, so that's a very important nature, or you can say the feature of Coelenterata. A very interesting one, which is actually very common in plants, but rare in animals, very rare in animals. You find it in Coelenterata. So, we have polyp and medusa. The next one is polymorphism. I will not give much importance here about the polymorphism, because in next session we will be concentrating solely on polymorphism. So, polymorphism here, just let me say what it is. Poly means many, you are all familiar. Morpho means body form. So, in case of Coelenterata, within a species you find different body forms, number of body forms are present, and each body form has its own function. So, it is a sort of division of labor, okay, is found, that is called as polymorphism. The next important feature is regeneration. So, these coelenterates have, like poriferans, have high level of regeneration. A small portion of the body can give rise to the whole body. As we have seen in Metridium, during fragmentation, a small portion is enough to develop a whole body. Not only that, okay, the cells of the body are old cells are lost and new cells are continuously added. So, because of that, these members have almost have a immortal condition. The actual one individual generally does not truly die as a whole, it does not die unless there is very drastic environmental condition, because any number of cell that is lost, new one will be immediately replaced. Okay, every time the new cells are going to be replaced. It is a unlimited replacement of cell. That is very important, very interesting once again feature of Coelenterata. So, that means they are almost, okay, almost immortal, unless there is some environmental drastic conditions. Like we see corals, they can live hundreds and thousands of years. But if there is any slight fluctuation in the sea, then the whole of the colony will be destroyed. Kilometers together, corals will be destroyed. Okay, so that is about the remaining general features of these Coelenterata. Now, let us move to the classification. So, here the basis of classification is the body form that is present, the dominant body form that is present. If it is polyp or medusoid form, based on that we have three classes of phylum Coelenterata. The first one is hydrozoa. So, here hydro means water, zoon means animal. So, here you find both freshwater and marine forms. For example, hydra, that is a polypoid form and it is a freshwater animal. So, you find them in fresh waters, small ponds and in lakes you find them, whereas rest of them are marine, found in seas and in oceans. And this might be solitary again like hydra, or they might be colonial like obelia. But in case of hydrozoa you find only polyps, either there are only polyps, but sometimes in some cases they can be polyps as well as medusoid forms. For example, again obelia shows both polyp and medusoid forms. Sometimes they are only polyps like in hydra. Hydra is example for hydrozoa, hydra is example for freshwater Coelenterata, hydra is also example for the individual which shows only polyp. Okay. There are other classes, I mean there is another class where in the whole solely polyp stages are present. Okay, but in hydrozoa I am telling polyp is, hydra is polypoid stage. It shows both male and female gonads in the same individual, so it is a monoecious also. Okay. Then other than these hydra and obelia, you also find Sertularia, Physalia, the picture what you are seeing, the image is of Physalia. This is also known as a Portuguese man of war, and then there are Campanularia and Pinnaria, etc. The next class is Anthozoa, and the name Anthozoa is because anthos means a flower, zoa again animal. So, they are flower-like animals. They look like flower, very beautiful flowers, and they are exclusively marine. You won't find any one of them in the freshwater forms, nor in lakes, nor in ponds. So, you won't find them in any of the freshwater forms. They are found in marine. I mean, they are marine. Again, see, this is very important. The members of Anthozoa are only polyp. Okay, they are only polyp. There is no medusa at all in Anthozoa. And here mesoglia, that the layer that is present between the epidermis and the gastrodermis is cellular. That means some cells are present in it. Okay, and the famous corals, in Kannada they call it as havala. So they belong to this particular class of Anthozoa. And remember, the exclusive feature of this is that they are exclusively marine, and all of them are polyp stages. That means they are all attached to the substratum. You won't find free swimming medusoid forms in them. That means both asexual and sexual reproduction takes place in the polyp itself. Okay, no medusoid form. Examples for Anthozoa are Gorgonia, okay, and then there is Corallium, the coral, Pennatula, that is sea pen, and Fungia, mushroom coral. Pennatula is sea pen which has bilateral symmetry. Okay. Corallium rubrum is the red coral, that the so called havala, that is used for ornamental purposes. I mean, it's used in jewelries. Okay. Yeah, that's about the Anthozoa. The last class is Scyphozoa, but Scyphos means cup and zoon again animal. So, Scyphos cup, the body is like an umbrella. Okay, umbrella shaped, as you can see there. Aurelia, jellyfish, looks like one translucent umbrella. Okay, cup like body, medusoid forms. So, these are exclusively marine, and not only that, they are solitary forms, solitary. Okay, and medusoid stage is dominant, does not mean there are no polyps. At during developmental stages, they do show polyps. Okay, they get attached and then they produce a strobila. From there the medusa are released. So, you find medusa, polyp stage too, but it is for a very, very short period of time. Then examples for this Scyphozoa are Aurelia, the common jellyfish, Cyanea, the largest jellyfish, Porpita, Velella, and Rhizostoma. These are all different types of jellyfishes you find. Okay. That's all for today's session. In this class we have discussed about the general features as well as the classification. Let's see how much you have understood. The larva of a Physalia is my first question, Planula, Ephyra, Sidiped, Cephistroma or Scyphistoma. I am talking about Physalia, and the answer is A, Planula. Second question, corals belong to class. I am sure you know the answer. Scyphozoa, is it Anthozoa, Hydrozoa or Calcarea? And the answer is Anthozoa, flower-like animals. The following is the member of Hydrozoa: Physalia, Aurelia, Cyanea and Halicitis. And the answer is Physalia. Fourth one, medusoid form is dominant in, it is dominant, okay, in Hydrozoa, Scyphozoa, Anthozoa, none of the above. And what might be the correct answer? The answer is B, in Scyphozoa, cup-like animals or umbrella-shaped animals. Only polyp stage is found in Hydrozoa, Scyphozoa, Siphonophora, Anthozoa. Polyp stage, only polyp stage, no medusoid stage at all. D, Anthozoa, because in Hydrozoa you find medusoid and polyp stages. Okay, Anthozoa only polyp, no medusoid form at all. Okay, the summary of the session are: digestion is both extracellular and intracellular. Respiratory, excretory, coelom and circulatory systems are absent. Asexual reproduction is by budding, by fission or by fragmentation. Development is indirect with the planula larva, classified into 3 classes: Hydrozoa, Scyphozoa and Anthozoa. And this is my reference for today's session, including the images. Thank you.